Welcome. I'm Janelle Kolaski, a career mindset coach and actor.
And I'm Amanda Dubois, a self-authenticity and prosperity life coach and actor as well. And we're your co-host of Mindset Artistry YouTube channel,
where we teach you the art of discovering and using your mindset
to build a career and life you desire.
Okay, well, welcome to another episode of Mindset Artistry with our incredible guest, Giviad Joseph. As he says, give a little, give a lot, which he does give a lot to the career, to his life, to people around him, which I admire that most about him. And he's also one of the series regulars on the incredible show, Satima. Yes, round of applause. Woo, woo, woo. So all that to say is thank you for coming and joining us today for Mindset Artistry. And let's just dive right in. I know there are people out there who are curious about Giviad. So, well, again, congratulations on being a series regular. That is some big, big stuff.
Thank you.
How's that been?
It's been a blessing. I mean, it's a little different working with Tyler Perry than, Tyler Perry Studios than some other TV shows. Whereas when you're a series regular on certain shows, it's like you're busy for about 6 to 7 or 8 months out of the year. With Tyler Perry, with the studio, you're shooting a whole season in 2 weeks. So basically have the rest of the year to do your thing. 50 weeks left in the year to just do, to just keep building and keep growing. So that within itself is like a blessing. Because I know some friends who were, a friend of mine was shooting on a TV series in Italy, I want to say. Yeah. And he was filming right around the time of COVID. So he had to go out there, spend a month in quarantine. Then they shot for 6 months straight. Then they stopped and took a break. Then they came back. The thing that I like about this is it almost feels like they're shooting theater. You run it, you work it. By the time you get to the set, we're pretty much we're golden. We've already rehearsed it the night before as if we were filming it. So that's one of the things that I truly appreciate about this opportunity. And the other thing is just, a series regular. That's what one of the things you strive for in a career. So when you finally hit it, it's okay. And the other thing is, I'm just fortunate because I think we always hear about pilot season and we always hear about, we want to book a pilot, but after you book the pilot, there's still all this politics involved with that. Will the show last more than one season or XYZ? With a Tyler Perry show, it's if he says it's greenlit, it's greenlit. So he's the decision maker. It's not a bunch of executives that don't know anything about film or TV. This is coming from one person who knows what he wants. So it's a little bit different in terms of the level of stress that I don't have to deal with versus some other peers who are constantly oh, are they going to like it? What are the ratings? What's this? What's that?
Wow. I mean, that's incredible. First, I'm still shocked by the fact that you filmed the whole season in 2 weeks. I'm just stuck on that just a bit. I'm wait, what? So how long are your days then if you're filming only in 2 weeks?
There, some days are longer than others. There's been times that we start shooting by 10 a.m. We're in makeup, wardrobe 8. By 10 o'clock, we're heading towards set. And there's times where we wrap the day at 6 or 7 p.m. It's literally, we're doing 1-2 takes tops, unless it's something there's certain scenes in season 2 that's a pivotal scene that has a lot of moving parts. We might get 3, maybe 4 takes, but for the majority of the time, it's everybody's on point. We all come ready, prepared. We do our thing. 1 take, he has 3 cameras, boom, on to the next. It's okay, what did we do in that scene again? Then you see it and you're oh, that's right, we did that. That's right. I forgot. It all becomes one big blur.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, it just shows how much it's important as an actor to really be prepared, not just getting the job, but being prepared before you even get on set. And I learned that from you, where it's you record yourself and go to sleep to listening to your lines. You get up, do the same thing. You work with coaches, you work with other actors. It's just nonstop for you, which is an incredible thing. and shows your commitment and passion, and it's well deserved, the fact that you got a series regular. What has been your mindset? Because I know you came from the corporate world. You were an account executive, right? Yes, account executive, right? And you got your business, you got a degree in business marketing at Penn State. Hello. All right, we be talking to someone smart here. He's got the smarts, right? Just a little bit, right? And well, we all have friends. Hello, right? Company you keep. So you came from the corporate world, and then you decided that, well, I want to be an actor, and changing that passion and putting your passion into acting, that's something that's unpredictable, really. Coming from the corporate world where you have the 9 to 5, is very almost religious like, right? You have a routine Monday through Friday, you know what to expect. And then you go into the acting world and it's unpredictable. You don't know when the next job is coming. You just continue to work. How has that been for you, that transition from the beginning until now?
That's a great question. I think the biggest thing for me was like, well, you know what it really was. I remember the first like big piece of advice that I saw was Will Smith talking about reading and running. And he basically said that there's no new problems in the world. Every problem has, it's just a remix of an old problem. Any new problem that you occur, and the solution to that problem, you'll always be able to find in a book. So when I finally like really decided I was going to start acting, I started going to the library. And I remember I was at the library every day after I quit my corporate job, and just understanding the business, finding books about how to be. I remember one of the books was titled How to Be a Working Actor. Just a lot of different books about the industry. And then the second thing that he said within that same interview was running, because when you're running, if you can outsmart that voice in your head that's telling you to stop, then you can accomplish anything. Mm-hmm. Because if you can, like have control over self, then it's like you could have control over anything externally. So I actually made it a point to start working out and running, and I was consistently running for a while. And I just kind of wanted to kind of just have that mindset of being able to overcome that voice that would say like, stop. I remember the first time I did like 2 miles, and I was like, God damn, I just did 2 miles. That's crazy. and after that first mile, the voice kept saying, stop, stop, stop. And then after a few weeks of doing 2 miles, I was like, let me try 3. And I remember getting to that 3rd mile was like, stop, stop, stop. And I would find ways to trick myself. Just a half mile. I already did 4 half miles. I can do another half mile. Like finding ways to kind of trick yourself into doing what you need to do. When I work out now, like if I lift weights and I want to do like 12 reps, I'll count to 6 and then I'll reverse it and count from 6 down to 1 to 6, then 6 to 1. And that's like a little trick, because then it's like I'm breaking it down so it doesn't seem as complicated of a task. And I think I kind of took that same mindset from business, breaking down what you need to accomplish within the week, within the month, within the year. And as you start to break it down in smaller steps, it feels doable and realistic,
I love that. And that's good. We talk about that, making your quarterly, annual, everything. People think we're nuts, but listen in, people. Giviad's a working guy.
Yeah.
We know I'm crazy, but
love it.
No, it made me think about this and something that's so interesting. So like so you're doing all that, and then what is it in you that you're like, this is what I meant to do, so I'm just going to do it. And then also a lot of times people will want to focus on, oh, it's so competitive, and focus on what they can't control. And for me, I don't know if it was just like naivete or just I can't concentrate on too much at the same time, but I never considered the competition. I was just kind of like, well, I'm just going to keep going. So what is it for you that you were like, this is what I meant to do? And how did you ignore all that's going against you?
That's a great question. I think, so the biggest thing is, no matter, like if you look at any of Kobe's interviews where he talks about like that Mamba mentality and not stopping, I don't think I ever really by the time I finally thought of competition, I was kind of already too far in it. And what I realized was we each have our own race. So it's like if you're basing the competition off of their race, you don't know how long they've been in the business. You don't know what kind of hurdles and pitfalls they've had. And that's something I kind of learned over time, was like comparing yourself to others or looking at competition, or it's not, at the end of the day, it isn't competition, because who you are is who you are. Who was it? I was listening to a book by Ron Perlman, who was in Hellboy and Sons of Anarchy, and his IMDb is ridiculous. But when I read his book, and he's talking about how when he first started acting, everyone kept saying his look was so unique and so different, and they were like, "You're not going to get booked for lead roles, and you're not going to this, and you're not going to that," and it was easy for him to kind of to fall into that pitfall. But he was like, "You know what? Well, fuck it, I'm just going to." I don't know if I can cuss.
This adult content here.
Okay, good. He was just kind of like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do my own thing and run my own race and just focus on, early on in his career, all the characters that he was playing was constantly covered up. His first feature film, Quest for Fire, he played like a primitive human being right before being being considered an actual human being, and he had to like so he and it was kind of frustrating for him, but he kept going back and playing these roles where you couldn't see his face. But it wound up playing to his advantage, because then he was able to play Hellboy and do all these things and get a name and Hellboy led to Sons of Anarchy and all these other things. So it's like, I think it's important to keep in mind that it's just, at the end of the day, there's other people, but they're not competition against you. You can all work together to kind of get better, to grow. And some of my best friends are other Black men that fit the same type. I've auditioned so many times with friends that have the same audition as me, and I'm giving them the same notes the same things that I'm like, oh, this is a nice way to play it. If this works for you, take this, because thinking of it as competition or someone that works against you, I think puts you in a negative mindset. Versus if you think of it as, I might give him something, he might give me something, but even if he doesn't give me something, me giving that little tidbit can help propel me to find another idea, and so I just tried. I really didn't even consider competition at the time, and I think if I did, I probably wouldn't have been as fearless. And also because I'm come from my background, my parents are both Haitian, so they came here from Haiti, and neither one of them really spoke a ton of English. So by the time I graduated high school, my father had passed away, but my family had owned a 4-family house. They had 2 businesses, a taxi company and a limousine company. So in my mind, I kind of kept in the back of my head, like, well, if my parents didn't even know how to speak this language, they were able to come here and work smart and hard enough to find this kind of success, then I was born here. Like, there's no excuse for me to not, and also knowing that we all have the same, to some degree, we all have the same level of type of talent. It's all about how much work you put into that talent to really get, to that next level. Like, I'm sure any one of us could be great singers if we took the time to really practice it every day, right? So that's the mindset I had, was let me work. I actually kind of did like a curriculum, because in my mind I was behind. So I thought to myself, okay, I have a lot of catching up to do in terms of I don't have a conservatory, so that's why I would spend so much time in the library, because in my mind it was like I put myself through my own conservatory. I kind of made sure that I spent a certain number of hours a week, whether it was reading plays and understanding the business side of it, because I realized that it's all about I got from CBS. It's all about dollars and cents. No matter what business you're in, it's all about dollars and cents. You want to make clothes, the manufacturer cares about how much money you're going to bring them, how many orders you're going to have. Delivery, how many orders will you have from your job? So that made me kind of reverse engineer and kind of put the pieces together to get representation, to get on TV, and to do all these things. So long answer, short question.
No, it's incredible. I mean, I've seen the growth since I've known you. I don't even know how long we've known each other at this point. But starting your own business with the CMOS business, which is incredible, by the way. I love it. Just dropping a little nugget in there because it is really good. I've been trying to convince her to get it.
No, I do want to get it.
I know. No, but
I'm so overwhelmed by life. I'm like, I gotta get back to it. I fell off in the pandemic. I used to have a skincare routine.
I mean,
I just figure I get older and do less.
Preserved yourself earlier on so that you don't have to work as hard.
I like it. But yeah, so you've had this amazing, incredible, what I would say, I wouldn't even say just momentum and this endless amount of energy to keep going. What would you say to people who feel like they are letting the negative thoughts take over them? They are letting other people define their value, or in the industry, in rejection. What is your advice for those people who know they want to be an actor, who have a passion for it, but are letting their mind get the best of them and letting the world around them dictate their worth and their value as a creative or performer or just a creative person in any industry?
I think, well, for one, it's accept it. It's human nature to especially with social media and Instagram and everything else, it's human nature to look at what someone else has and say and be like, oh, I want that, right? Like, or why can't I? Or why didn't I get that opportunity? But I think the biggest thing is being grateful for what you do have in the moment. And it's easier said than done, but there's different things you could do to kind of just remind yourself and be in that space of gratitude. Because once you start to realize how many blessings you really have, then that's when you can compare to the people in a third world country who wish they could get running water, or really wish they had a place to sleep. So I think that's the first thing is the gratitude. The second thing is what you don't realize is when you're putting in work, and I like to use this example of like watering plants. Like let's say I have a garden, right? And I'm spending all this energy into watering these daisies over here. And I'm watering them. They get a nice, good light. There's another section of the garden over here that has some other plants. I take care of them from time to time. But what I don't realize is while I'm watering and taking care of this, some of those nutrients are flowing over to those other, plants in that garden. And those other plants start to bloom. And you're like, how did that bloom? This one's not doing what I want that to do. And that's the way I see life works, because everything is balanced, right? So like what I didn't realize as I was creating the short film, I created a short film. Oh, I'll go even further back. POV, that short film was able to get me to Cannes, which then got me on the radar of certain filmmakers. And I can connect the dots to how it led to me booking a TV series called Tales, where I was performing alongside like Bella Thorne, and some other big names. But what happened is by not focusing on the negative and just staying creative, you'll see other flowers start to bloom, if that makes sense, because you're still putting the work towards this goal. And it's funny that you'll work as much as you want towards this and you'll expect it to come from here. But meanwhile, the golden door that opens and lets you in is, around back to the side to some janitor that you walked by and gave $1 or said, hey, your shoelace is untied, and he almost tripped. And that's the guy that gets you in the building. Meanwhile, you're sitting there at the front desk trying to get in and they're like, sorry, we can't, you don't have the credits. So I think it's important to stay creative in what you can control, because what happens is that leads to more and more, labor without works. The fruit of your work start to pay off. It may not be exactly where you want it to, but you'll see it pay off in some other shape or form. Real quick story, a friend of mine, Deval Ellis, we knew each other for a very long time. And when we were both on set together for Power, and because he was Omari Hardwick's stunt double at the time. And I remember we were on set talking for hours, and he was telling me, because social media was starting to blow up. And he was telling me like, yo, like, this is what you got to do. Like, just get out there, just put yourself out there. Who cares? Whatever. You have to be free. It's a different type of actor nowadays, as opposed to like 20 years ago where actors were in anonymous, where you didn't really know much about actors' lives. Now it's like people want to know everything. So long story short, he built his social media following, which wound up helping him build a podcast. So the social media following helped him build the podcast. The podcast got so big that a publishing company reached out to him to write a book with his wife about marriage. And it's like, had he not done the social media and took control of what he had control over. Had he not done the podcast, he would never have this book deal.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's on like two different TV shows. He has a three different shows. He has a reality show with his family, but all these different things was from, you know, utilizing what's within your power, you know? And that's like we've talked about before, man, many a times. I think something like this is a great vehicle and tool to not only reach people, but utilize your power instead of waiting for the people to come to you. Just give the knowledge out there. People will start to see it and be like, oh, that was some really good. Oh, dang, I gotta talk to this girl. She knows what she's talking about. Chanel over there, she crazy as hell, but she's smart as fuck too. You know?
Yes.
And helpful.
No, yeah, I really appreciate it. I agree with you 100%. Like, if anything, you know, whoever's listening, just do it.
Yeah.
You have nothing to lose by trying. You have more to lose by not doing it. Because by not doing it, you're going to look back at when you're 80, if you even live that long. Because there was a little Instagram thing that I posted the other day. It was like, people don't live to 100 these days. And it's very rare if they do. Most people live to like 80, which means that when you're like your mid 30s is like your midlife. Because, you know, you're like, oh my gosh. And so it's like,
gotta get it together.
Yeah, I think we're all breaking cycles. Hold on.
This up now.
Wait a minute. We are breaking cycles here, baby. We are breaking cycles. Let me tell you, I'm the first one in my family to go to college right after high school and graduate, get a job, and then decide to do a career and have no kids at 17. Breaking cycles, baby.
Holla back.
Right? You know, got to be the first generation to change it up and bring abundance into the family. And all that to say is that you don't have to let like your circumstances or your doubt define you, and make the choices for your life, knowing that, you know, you could do better, or you dream of better, or you desire of better, because you can be better if you commit to yourself, like you said, and stay focused, put in the passion. And granted, not everybody can be like Giviad, who's going to go to the library and spend like hours reading the books, because I'm not like that. I'll be very honest. Not everybody's the same.
I fell asleep a few times in that moment.
Oh, okay. A few times.
It's comfortable.
Yeah.
No, it is. Good old college days. The libraries were the best places to sleep and take a nap between classes. But, you know, find what works for you, right? You know, you find your community, you know, and I think between Giviad and Janelle, I think we all found our community, in which has added to our garden. Not only are we feeding that, you know, those daisies and the lilies and the vegetables, because I'm all about the veggies, you know, you have people that are also going to support you, and there's no competitive mindset, which is really beautiful. And my encouragement is find the people who don't see you as competition, that see you as their colleagues, their allies, their friends, and supporting, because when Giviad wins or Janelle wins or myself win, we see that we all win. It's all open for us. Like, I was so excited when Giviad told me he got the series regular. I was like, yes, man. I'm like, I love that. You've been working so hard in this industry and so committed, and also so open about offering your knowledge to other people. And I commend you for that, because again, when you have that competitive mindset, you almost feel stingy with the knowledge that you have, because you're afraid of giving it out, because then somebody will take the rug away from you, you know? Yeah. Right. And so I appreciate that. And it's such a commendable thing to do. And I just love that you are not only committed to creating a life that you desire and deserve, but you're also committed to sharing that with other people so they can do the same, if not better, in their version.
Well, and Giviad, that's something that sometimes people ask me, and I'm so grateful. Amanda and I avoided each other at first, and eventually we became friends, and we build each other up. Well, we were kind of like, you know, we have like our trust things, and then we were like, we're Aries, girl.
We're both Aries, so you know, Rams. We're like,
who's that? Yeah, we met in a business class, actually.
Yeah, I remember Rebecca Yarson. Do you remember? You know Rebecca Yarson? Yeah,
I remember. Yeah, but it's just funny. It made me think of it.
Yeah,
and just how like we talk about like what's meant for you is yours, and it like, you know, like if you book something, there's no way that I was going to book that because it wasn't meant for me. Like what's meant for me, you cannot take away what is meant for me when I'm showing up as my authentic self and doing the work. And so, but it's like for me, it took forever to find you. And then I met you a long time ago, Giviad, at one of those classes, you know?
Yeah.
Like a lot of times people say, well, how do you build this community? Because it can be a lonely road. So like, what advice do you have to people to find like the real ones?
That's
a really good thing.
That's true. I think the biggest thing is no matter what field you're in, I think whatever craft it is that you do, you should always be going to like different types of workshops or something that kind of focuses on your craft. So like, you know, if I want to be a truck driver, there's literally conventions with truck drivers, and you can tell, and I think no matter what industry you're in, you could tell the people that are serious about that craft or the people that are just there kind of taking their time and just taking up space. And I think when you're serious, you start to realize you don't have time for the people that aren't serious. So the more seriously you take your craft, the more you're going to have a higher standard for who it is that you work with in that environment. And so I think the biggest thing is, for one, put yourself out there in terms of, you know, whatever your craft is, even if it's singing, sign up for some classes that might be in your area, whether you're in New York, LA, Atlanta, wherever you are, and then start to get familiar with the people, because that's also part of the business too, is you need to be familiar with the landscape and who is throughout the landscape. So what we actually, all three of us met at the same event, if you guys remember, because it was Paul Michael's The Network.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Oh,
yeah. I remember running to you all the time, like, who is this man?
So what I did was, I remember so whenever I would go to whenever I didn't do a ton of backstage, but background work, only because I didn't know how to get into it. If I knew at the time, I would have, but I didn't. By the time I found out how to do it, I already booked, you know, a few co-stars, and I was like, I can't go backwards. But whenever I would be on a set, or if I would be at an audition, I would try to find the people that seemed like they would at least be giving or somewhat not. And I would just ask them one or two questions, whatever question was on my mind that week or that month. I would be like, yo, so what do you think about this, or XYZ? And I remember one actor I worked with that I was an audition with said the only reason he was able to get that audition for this commercial was because he was a reader and I was like, a reader? What the hell is a reader? How do you get? And that's when I first found out about like being a reader at these like workshops. So then I reached out to all of the, so for actors, for those that are actors, they may know, but for those that don't know, when a project gets put out there and they're looking to cast a project, a movie or whatever, there's a breakdown of all the different characters that they're looking to cast, right? So like, let's say the Creed movie, for example. Jonathan Majors and Michael B. Jordan, they were already attached to it. So we know that the two main stars are those guys. But for all the smaller roles, supporting roles, they're looking to cast people. So the breakdowns go out to casting directors. The casting directors say, okay, Sophia is going to be a girl at the gym that works out and trains and beats up Michael B. Jordan's behind at some point. So we need to find a Sophia. So the casting director is the person that puts out the information for the different roles that need to get cast. So what I did was I started finding places that I could get in front of casting directors and, you know, show them what I can do and just build a rapport with them. That led to me submitting myself to all these places, Actors Connection, Paul Michael's The Network. Yeah, the one-on-one, all of them. Mm-hmm. And I was a reader for a few places, Stand-Up Showcase, Paul Michael's The Network, and Actors Connection. And that led to me becoming familiar with casting directors and producers and just the right people, so that when it came time to casting, they would be able to see me. And the biggest thing that I had to realize was that it's not an overnight thing. You know, like we'll get in front of a casting director and we'll be like, okay, so call me next week. Like, I showed you what I could do. Call me in, baby. I'm gonna book. And it's like, no, it's a life. It's a career thing, and a career isn't 1-2 months, 1 or 2 years even. I look at like Viola Davis's story, and there's casting directors she came across 20 years ago who are just finally now looking like, oh, we want to cast you. And something that you were kind of saying earlier, not to jump around too much, but what I did was I made it a point to listen to successful actors that have been in the game for over 10 to 15 years, because once you start to see their struggle and their journey, you start to realize like, oh, I don't have it that bad. Like, I'm not eating hot dogs every single day for 2 years. You know, like, I actually have a job, even if it's at night as a waiter. You know, like, compared to once you start to, if you really want to compare to the nitty gritty, really compare. Don't just look at the success and say, oh, my success isn't that. Look at what they've been through. because that kind of was something that helped motivate me. The more and more I would look into actors that did that now are leads on a TV show, or like Aldous Hodge, who was in this TV show. And I remember I was auditioning for the same show, and at first I was like, come on, man, they gave it to him, like he ain't even that good of it. And then when I looked him up, and I was like, and I remembered he was in Die Hard, and I saw him in Lady Killers when he had one line, and all the different things. It's like he worked constantly, got better. And at the end of the day, an actor that you might see as a series regular on TV, their goal is to be an Academy Award winning actor. This is just the point that you're meeting them at now, that you're seeing them at now. But give them another 5-10 years, they'll be nominated, as long as they keep putting in the work.
Yeah, I love it. I love the reality of it is that, take your time. If you want to make this a career, any career, whether you're an actor, writer, producer, dancer, singer, anything, even with the corporate world, because you can be a corporate creative. In order to build a career, it does take time, because there are skills that you need to develop. There are things that you need to know. There are things you need to improve about yourself as well. And that's okay. I think, has there been a moment in your lifespan and being in this career where you felt like you needed to grow, and you did, and it was the most rewarding? Or what did you learn from that?
Well, yeah, that happened right after COVID. I was supposed to do a film with boxing as like the main, I was supposed to play a boxer, and I desperately wanted to just like train. So I kind of spent my own money, and I started training with someone for about 6 months. And then we found out that the money didn't come through for the feature. So I was like, this was going to be like my next project. I don't have anything going on. So I was in an acting class and on Zoom, Anthony Abeson. And
I love Anthony Abeson. I still work with him every week.
That's my guy. I got so much love for that guy.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to get everybody wants to work with Anthony. And so he was like, hey, class, let's do a festival. That's what he said. Let's do a festival. So one of the other guys in the class, and this is Community, one of the other guys in the class had written a monologue, and I was like, yo, it's really good. And a lot of people started reaching out to him, and I was like, look, I don't know about anybody else. I just know that I'm a filmmaker. I've done projects, would love to work with you. Let's create something. So I gave him my idea. He wrote out a script, and maybe a month later, I want to say a month and a half, maybe, we started shooting principal photography. And that led into me getting the Best Actor award at Chelsea Film Festival. And that kind of helped to like, shine a light on me again to the people at Tyler Perry Studios, so that they were able to be like, oh, he really is. We did fly him out here a bunch of times. We did have him audition a bunch of times. He is a good guy. Let's see if he could audition for this one. And first I booked, I was booked as a recurring guest star the first season. And then after the first season, I then was the only actor from the show to get bump up to series regular. So like, I think the biggest thing was I could have easily and I remembered it like it was yesterday, the day that I got the call from the people over at BET with Satima. I had just finished the jog, and that morning I was like, I don't even feel like getting up, man. Like, fuck this. Like, I fucking got a Best Actor award. What the fuck does it mean? My life hasn't changed. And I remember fighting myself to get out of bed and jog through Prospect Park. And as soon as I finished my run, I saw a bunch of messages from DeVal. He's like, yo, you're being considered. You're going to get a call soon. I was like, what? I was like, I've auditioned for this guy 6 times already. Why is he waiting? Like, he knows what I can do. He doesn't really want me. And that led to me booking, and I literally remember I had like less than 5 hours to record the audition and send in. It was due the day before, but my manager at the time had passed away. So they were trying to reach out to Genevieve and they were getting nothing. So I had a really quick turnaround time with that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I heard the,
oh,
yeah.
I know. Well, and that's funny. Anthony always talks about that. He's like, hey, you fuckers, He's like, we have a self-tape tomorrow and you guys want to complain about it. Wait till you get those jobs that you'll never get because you're not good enough. And he's funny. He's a funny sense of humor.
No,
you got to know the guy, but he says it's like such a quick turnaround and you just have to be ready to go. And that's why it's like, I tell people, be in a class and then constantly working. And I mean, with Anthony, I work 2 hours a week with him and I'm not always working, but I'm like always like, I want to be in a class with people that are working more than me because obviously they're doing something. So I'm always watching TV, try to go to movies often, theater to stay inspired, but also like, what can I learn? And this is like unrelated, but this is something that I struggle with, but you're good at because you're coming from the business world. This whole thing of networking. It just feels rude. It feels awkward. And then like, you and I have gone to like the SAG things and we had a great time. But then there's like some of those actors that are like,
oh my,
like, I'm like,
goodness.
It's like weird. I don't want to come across like this. But then it's weird because in the modeling world, I do so long and I don't care as much. Like acting is like so much more important to me. And then I'll just like meet somebody on a modeling set and I'll get to know them. And then I'll hear that they have like work and something I can do. And I'm like, well, here's like my agent's number. And then this is my list. And like, it just flows freely. But for acting, I'm just so afraid. I'm like, don't hate me. Hi, I exist. But all that to say, what do we do?
She definitely doesn't. Like, no, you just got to do it. Like, what are they going to do? You know how many no's I've gotten and how many... Like
I'm okay with no's, but like how you reach out to people without being a creep, like networking. Like,
genuinely, I've learned. I mean, and I'll definitely give you an answer because we're going back and forth here. But no, I would just think genuinely, if you have something worth saying, and that you actually want to connect with them, and not like, hey, give me a job.
Yeah,
I'm available. That's disrespectful in a way. You're not respecting their job or where they're coming from either, but
then sometimes your life, you're like, well, I just got a rabbit and a motorcycle license.
But it's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
This rabbit don't eat carrots; it eats grapes. But I think no, that's a really good question. So here's what I've learned is that when you genuinely, so like if I see that I'm going to a SAG-AFTRA Foundation event and there's a director that's going to be speaking, because I'm a genuine fan of the art of this industry that we're in, I'll take the time to research that person. And so when I research that person, I'm seeing what movies they did. Me approaching them, I'm not approaching them like Amanda was saying. I'm not approaching them saying like, hey, book me. I saw this one movie. I would have been great in this. It's more, I'll walk up to them and congratulate them and, like be like, yo, congrats on this movie. That looks really dope. Like, and I'll ask a genuine question about whatever that they're working on. That's one approach. Another approach is like, I used to, I still do sometimes. We all have stage fright, right? Like even when I'm ADing on a set as an assistant director, it's easy to get stage fright. But what pushes the fright to the back is the job. I'm here for a job, and that job is to communicate to all these people this thing, because if not, the whole shoot could go down. So the job of ADing this set supersedes the fear and nervousness. So like if you look at yourself of actually having, like, prime example, both of you ladies have produced before. You had projects that you produced, and if you come from the perspective of I'm a producer and I'm just looking to learn or understand, or maybe I can even give back with some of the connections I have. Now you're coming from a space of service as opposed to a space of gimme. It's how can I help you? I love what you're doing. To find a playwright that curated this musical about this specific topic. I've never seen it done before. I would love to help in some way, shape, or form. How can I get the word? And that's a genuine way of connecting, and people appreciate, because I think it's easy to look at those examples that you don't want to be like and be like, oh, I don't want to be that, so I'm just going to stay away from being in it at all. But it's like there's a separation between, there's a clear-cut separation between people that are just fiending to be seen and be put in a project versus the people that genuinely want to build a connection. And when you want to genuinely build a connection, it goes a long way and the person can receive. I mean, every single time I've had an acting workshop and I've called on a casting director to come, any single casting director that I've reached out to is like, yo, I'd love to come. Like, and I'll be like, oh, so where can I send your stipend? It's like, don't worry about that. Da 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 da. I just want to give back, because they know that I'm genuinely trying to help people, as opposed to some greedy guy who's like, they're going to charge $1,001 for a 2-hour seminar. They're like, no, I'd rather not do that. Mm-hmm. So I think once you come from a genuine place, and you have to find it sometimes, because it's like, you know, I may have never heard of this actor or director, but then I'll go and look it up and be like, oh shit, they did this. Oh, that movie was da-da-da. And that'll lead to me genuinely caring. But I think that's the biggest thing, is coming from it from a space of, you know, seeing how you could service and just being yourself, which is easier said than done.
Oh yeah, I mean, and then like the ones that I've interacted with, but it's like, yeah, it's definitely scarier when it's like people that like maybe they've only called you in once or twice, or you took one class with them, and you're just like,
yeah,
hey.
I mean, I think because I worked in the corporate world, and so I came, and my dad is very like open. You know, my dad, he just talks to everybody. He's like that, so I kind of gotten that behavior from him. And then working in the corporate world, it was like, you got to do it. You got to walk in these rooms with CEOs and VPs and directors. She's like, you just got to do your job. You go in there and do your research. And I have taken that into acting. And I thought it hindered me, to be honest, earlier on working in the corporate world, because I felt like it put restraints on me of being free and being creative. And I realized that it actually was a gift. And I'm sure you can say the same thing with, you know, business and marketing, which is why you're so good at it, how it actually led to me being better as an actor and as a person who can network and do these things. Like, honestly, with Nell and I mean, I would have never thought her and I would have a podcast. You know what I mean? Like, I would have never thought that. It was like, you know what, just why not do it? What do I have to lose? Like, really, yep. I love what I do. And like you said, it's genuinely coming from a place of, we want to service our audience members and let them know that they're seen, they're heard, and you will make it. You just got, there's just certain things you got to change or do and unblock yourself and take care of your mindset, your body. And like, now I understand why you're so obsessed with running. Totally makes sense, because I'm like, dude, you run a lot.
I got some bad knees and ankles. I can't do it. But
I'm not really a fan of running.
Take a bike.
Yeah, bike is good
roller
too.
Skate. We're gonna cut in Brooklyn. There's a pop-up roller skating thing, and we're gonna become really good at roller skating this spring.
Is that on Atlantic
Barclays Center?
Flatbush? Where? Oh, by Barclays Center. Yes. I was by it today, actually. I was right by it today.
No, she's trying to turn me into like a roller derby kind of badass.
I played roller derby and it was a lot of fun. Knock people out.
Yeah, you see a little bit of aggression.
Yeah, here. I see that aggression. Damn.
Yeah, she's trying to get it out. It's like, no,
Hey, well, thank you corporate people. You're helping me with the networking. But no, I understand. It should be genuine. I don't know why it's scary. It's just my dream.
Are you crazy?
But that's exactly why it's scary, because it's something that you care about so much, right? So it's like, but if you go past, if in your mind, it like like I like the next event you go to or whatever, in your mind, tell yourself there's no way this person will ever put me in a film. They'll be my friend, but they'll never put me in a film.
Take the stakes out of it.
Yeah.
Robert De Niro said that about auditioning.
Yes. Where he says, it's not mine. I'm not going to book it. Makes it more interesting choices during and Ron Perlman, So Ron Perlman during the interview, I get but in his book, he talks about how when he did Quest for Fire, the director was this huge French director, and because he knew that the role wasn't going to be for him, because he's like, nobody's going to hire me. I have this ugly face. I don't care. He just was his genuine self to him, called him and he comes across like a very Italian mobster kind of guy. Fuck out of here. And that's how he was talking to this guy, because in his mind, he was like, yeah, why are you wasting my time? Like, what do you want? And meanwhile, the director loved that about him, because everybody else was kissing his ass. So like, if you remove that out of it, you get to really be a genuine self. And that's what people will be attracted to, unless you're dealing with a narcissist. And in that case, you don't want to work with a narcissist anyway. The narcissist is going to be like, yes, tell me I'm the best and tell me all these things.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. And that's why, again, the whole mindset thing is like really find your voice and be authentic as you can, because that's what's going to really bring the most magic to your work and any interaction that you have, which I think.
No, but that's true. I booked because I was thinking that's exactly what I did. So I booked a role on Dynasty, and they wanted this like really cool model that was like put together and like telling off designers. And I was like, ha! It's like, I am like the weirdest model ever, and I'm always awkward in fashion. I was like, there's no way in hell they're gonna hire me for this. And like the girl did have like a lot of anxiety, and and so like I just really just had so much fun with it and made her like, it was like Lucille Ball. Like I just like comedy,
right there, right? If you see
like physical comedy.
Wow.
Yeah, and I did. I love her.
I love her.
And I was like, all right, well, whatever. These people will never call me. And then next week they're like, you booked it. I was like, oh!
Then you got the anxious.
And then when I got there, they didn't want me to do it like that. They wanted me to be like a little more serious. And I was like, okay, I can't. But like, why'd you hire me from that take? And they were like, we just saw you and we loved you. And,
Yeah, I think I've learned that the most about this industry too. Is like, don't work to try to make it perfect and think create a character based on what you think they want, because it's not going to work.
Yeah,
Nope.
It really isn't, because then it looks forced or it's not genuine or it's not authentic, it's not grounded. But when you make this character like, okay, she's bold, but what is your version of bold? What is your version of anxiety? Or when you drop into that and what you can bring to it, then you're creating this true authentic character that's going to read on the screen, which is what is more appealing to the audience, is what we are attracted to as actors and audience members. Like I'm attracted to the actors who are, you see that they drop into these characters, like they really live in them. You're like, oh, wow. Viola Davis does it, Meryl Streep, Denzel, like all these actors, they give everything to the character because they're just truthful about it. They're not trying to be anything. They're just being. And I love that. And any last words? Because I could talk all day, honey. I could definitely talk all about the industry.
But I want to know.
Oh well, okay.
I want to.
Yeah. Good.
No, we talk about like protecting your energy and making sure you really, because like this is something I have where like I'll get to like sometimes my life will take my energy away from like what I know I'm meant to do. It's like, what advice do you have for people that they kind of, you got to tend to life, but giving your energy to the wrong people or the wrong things? Because I try to tell people like, just say like, yeah, I'm an actor and I'm in it for the long game and this is what I'm doing. Because sometimes, society will come out here like, oh, I hope you're not struggling too much with that or some shit. So anyway, how do you make sure that, because we all have the same hours in a day, the same, like, you could say the same energy to give things in a way. I don't know. It's like, what advice do you have for people so that they can get to where they're going?
I think the biggest thing is removing the distractions. So like, I actually have a timer on my Instagram that after an hour of being on Instagram a day, if I'm still on Instagram, it pops open a message that says, you've been on Instagram for an hour today. And little things like, because what happens is, first, like I was saying earlier, every business is about dollars and cents, right? And media is all about attention. Mm-hmm. So all of these, whether it's TV, the internet, Instagram, Twitter, these advertisers are paying for your attention. So they want to, and I could get really philosophical with this shit, but they're basically paying for our attention because that's how they get the ads placements inside of the apps or whatever it is, or the TV or whatever you're using. So like what you start to realize is time is money, because time is valuable, because time is the one resource you can't get back. Mm-hmm. So that time, instead of you taking it and spending it on something frivolous that makes you still feel unfulfilled, it's better for you to take that time and put the energy into something that when you're done, you're like, oh, wow, I did that. Like, I did that. So I think the biggest thing is holding yourself accountable, because if you don't track and hold yourself accountable and really realize, well, you literally can go, there's a thing called screens. There's a way on the app where you can look at, how with the iPhone, you can look at like how long you spend on this app, or how long you spend on your phone, and XYZ. So once you start to actually use those tools that are right there that you paid for, you'll start to really see like where your time is being wasted. The same thing like if I want to lose weight. If I want to lose weight and I'm still eating cheeseburgers and fries and ketchup and a pound of it, once I start to track it, I start to see like, oh, this stuff, you know, fries are empty calories. The chocolate has all this sugar in it. So once you hold yourself accountable, then, you know, but that's the funny thing too, is most people don't really want to make the change. We say it, but once you're at that place where you realize you really want to make the change, the first thing is holding yourself accountable to the reality of what you're doing or not doing. And I'll say this, like, because we talked about rejection a lot. One of my advantages, I always think of this as like an advantage of mine, was that when I've done a lot of sales jobs. So I was a telemarketer in high school. I sold electronics at Sears. I sold sneakers at Foot Action. I sold, I sold all types of stuff. Cutco knives. I've sold them all. I got so used to the idea of rejection that the way I see it is this: if there's 1,000 people, you know, 1,000 casting directors, I don't need all 1,000 of them to like me. I just need to find the one that likes me. I just need to find the manager or agent that was looking for me. You know, there's at any given moment, somebody could think, oh, there's nobody in this world for me. Oh, woe is me. No, you're just going to places where they don't want you. You have to start going to the places where they're looking for your type, or, you know, your cooking style or your style of music, because there's an audience for any and everything. And once you start to realize that, it gives you a little more power. Slowly and surely you start to realize just how much power you have. And it's like, okay, well, they said, no, that's fine. But all this is doing is helping me narrow who's going to say yes. You know, and it feels like it's tedious because what I started to realize was, I thought that once I got this role or this project that it was smooth sailing. And it's like, no, I want to be an Emmy Award winning actor. I want to win an Oscar. So for me, I need to keep growing till I'm at that level where I get the Oscar. And that growth is constant. Leonardo DiCaprio still works with an acting coach. Every single successful, anybody that's successful in what they do works with someone that helps them get better. From the doctors that are doing bypass surgery, crazy surgeries, they're working with other doctors that are at a higher level than them, whether it's basketball, you know, the Stephen Curry won like 3 back-to-back finals, and yet he still has a shooting coach and a coach. He has a coach for any position that he does on the field. Passing coach. He has so all these greats. LeBron worked with, I think, Hakeem Olajuwon, so he could be a better center. You know, so like the people that, I think a mistake that's made is that once you get to the top, you can just coast. And it's like, no, when you get to the top, you have to work even harder. And I see how like Kevin Hart did, because I have friends that are within his camp. And, you know, as he started to build, as his trajectory built, he kept working harder and harder. And it was like, he didn't slow down. Now he had to pay for private jets to go from France to New York because he had a marathon that weekend. You know what I mean? He went from a book doing to a marathon. So it's like, the work don't stop. And I think that's a misconception, is that people think they work to get to a certain point and then it's smooth sailing. And it's like, no, that's just the beginning. When you get to that point, that's when you really got to show out, because now all those eyes are on you. Disney's looking at you. Marvel's looking at you. You know, so I think that's a mindset of you have to always look to grow. And if you feel like you've made it, then you're just going to be stuck where you're at, and it's just going to be a downhill from there.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. You know, the worst place you can do is stay in the comfort zone, because you're just never going to grow. It's just like sitting on as a couch potato. And speaking back to what you talked about, really reaching out to the people and getting those rejections, and then finally looking for that no, or being consistent with that, is when you are in that process. So you have to also be as specific as possible with what you're bringing to the table. Because here's the thing, you can get that yes from that manager or that job, but they may not be servicing your best interests, your best talents, that may be like, oh, I'm just going to put them in that specific category with all the other ones, and not really going, you know, what's really good about you is that you have this little thing. And I love that. Let's amplify that. Let's make sure that everybody sees that, because that's what's different about you amongst the millions and thousands of people. And that's what you also have to remember too, is, you know, you don't want to say yes to everybody. You want to find the people that are going to see you as that, like, oh, there's something magical about that person. Like, I can service them and they can service me in that kind of way. And that takes time and energy, and also be a willingness to be open and vulnerable to admit where you need to, you know, make those changes, make those life growth stages in your life. And as you go in that, and Nelly knows
that's hard. I used to feel bad, like if I get a scene and I work so hard on it, and then I would go and like I work with my friend Farron. I don't think you've ever met him, but maybe you've run into Farron. I don't know. He's also like everywhere, but he would like then give me all these ideas and notes, and I'm like, I'm a dumbass. Like, I'm not creative at all, and like I would take it so personally. Yeah. Like I'm gonna give up, and then, you know, he's like, no, he's like, you're being a dumbass right now, because you understand this is a collaborative art. He's like, you can't see yourself. He's like, you bring it and then you work together. He's like, it's just not, art is never truly solo. Yeah. He's like, you know, whether you're like painting with the like painting mountains and lakes, like they're still part of the creation. It's just, you know, got to be okay with growing, and you know,
and each level is going to be different too, like you said, because when you get to a certain level, there are things you don't know that other people do as well. So you have to be able to be vulnerable and willing to go to the places where it's like, I don't know what's next. And I didn't know that. I don't want to feel like shit, so let me just find out. Or I don't want to feel bad about myself because I don't know. You should not know so you can want to know.
Yeah.
Right? That curiosity is going to feed, I mean, you know, they say curiosity because of cat, but I don't think so. Unless, eventually can cats learn how to swim. I've seen big old cats learn how to, swim. So eventually, you know, it will work out, but you have to be curious, and you have to be, you know, willing to be in the rooms that are, like Nell said, in the classrooms where people are doing the bigger things than you are series regulars or recurring co-stars.
Yeah, I mean, you got over myself and I'm there.
And it also tells you, get over yourself. It's really not that serious.
It's not that serious.
It's really not that serious.
But you know what? I it's funny that you said that. No, like, I remember feeling the same way. Like, I remember being on sets with certain directors, and they would try to give me like a note, and in the back of my mind I would think, man, I'm the actor, I know what the fuck I'm doing. But through, like, I learned, like, it is such a collaborative effort. And one of the classes that I take right now, I've been working with Leslie Kahn recently, and she makes us do these group sessions where we're all working on each other's material. And I remember there was this one scene I did, and there's this Asian cat that's in my group. And he gave me an entirely different perspective for one line. And that one line shifted the course of the scene. And I was like, I would have never thought of that coming from where I come from and the way that I've lived my life. I would have never thought of this idea. And I'm like, we've all given each other things, but that really helped me realize just how important it is to have outside perspectives in what you're doing, because, you know, the general mass will think, you'll see it and you'll think one thing, but then once that idea gets in there, it's like, oh, this is a whole different place that it could go. So I think collaboration is really important in what we do in any artistry, in any artist work.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you've helped me out so much with all the embarrassing moments of auditions, and I'm like, Amanda, are you scared right now? Yeah, I'm nervous. Like, then say it out loud. Use it. I'm like, huh? Like a freaking deer in headlights. Like a kid. I'm like, I don't know if I could do that. He's like, just do it. Just like have fun with it. I'm like, okay. And I'm appreciative of it because it got me out of my comfort zone. And you showed me things that I probably would have never come up with, because again, you're coming from a different perspective, which is why you said, you know, this is a collaborative art. Art is collaborative, and it makes it that much magical because it's so collaborative, and it just adds the color to it. Again, we can talk all night and all day. Nelly, last words?
No, I'm good now. You know, it's fine. We're done.
Oh, we're done. No, but before you do, let everybody know what's coming up next for you. What's going on in your life? I know you got the CMOS business. You're doing season 2 of Satima. So go ahead.
Okay, so well, season 2 premieres March 16th. I just got the email earlier today. Season 2 of Satima premieres March 16th.
Nice.
For those that want to, you know, let their skin pop a little bit more or glow more, the hair, nails, any of that stuff, Isle of Spice CMOS, ISLE of Spice CMOS on Instagram, and the website is isleofspicecmos.com. Also, me and my lady just got engaged. So
yes,
we don't know do that yet.
That's it. He's off the market, ladies. Off the market.
Yeah, we're focused over here. And then the last words that I'll leave to anyone listening, watching, is 10,000 shots. It's a mantra that Kobe Bryant had. And it was that he would take 10,000 shots every day before a game. And the way I see it is, this is the deposits of work that you're putting in. So if you're constantly putting in deposits into your craft, into whatever it is that you do, it leads to a place where those deposits are going to pay off in a big way. But you have to be consistent, and you have to constantly look to grow it. So before any game that Kobe would take, he would always practice before getting to the game. So most people are starting the game, that's the first time warming up. He's already played 2-3 games in his head. He's already had that buzzer beater shot 5 times that day already. So by taking the time to, you know, put the work in, 10,000 shots or 10,000 hours, I think a lot of times you'll hear 10,000 hours into your craft. It makes a big difference with you being prepared, you knowing, like, I did the best I could with this audition. This is me. Like, if I book it, I book it. If I don't, I don't. And you'd be surprised how far that takes you just by empowering yourself and knowing the lay of the land and the business that we're in.
Yeah. Well, that was mic drop. Boom, bam. Right? Thank you, man. Well, Givia, thank you so much for joining us on Mindset Artistry. We definitely love to have you again. You're amazing. And check him out, follow, and check out Satima and the CMOS and all the things, because this is a guy you should know and keep an eye out for him. Yes.
I forgot. I have a feature film that's going to be screening at ABFF in June. I'm a lead in the film, so that's exciting as well.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. That's amazing. Are you allowed to say the name of it?
It's called First Comes Love. So it's a TV One feature film, and TV One has a deal with ABFF and Pan African Film Festival and Martha's Vineyard African American Film Festival. So we're going to be screening the feature there, and then it's going to go to the network. So things are happening.
Yeah, things are happening. I love it. It's like a ripple effect, domino effect. I love it.
All right, wait, hold for editing. Stop.
Yeah, just so we know when to cut off.
What are your thoughts about this episode?
Drop it in the comments and let us know what you want to dive into next.
Subscribe, like, share, and click the link below to book a free consultation. And
we'll see you next time.